Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, July 31st, the last day of the month of July. We had some big-time changes in the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. on Saturday night as a powerful cold front came through the region from northwest to southeast. It ushered in much more comfortable air on Sunday, and it remains quite comfortable right through midweek in the mid-Atlantic region, in the northeast U.S. There'll actually be kind of a reinforcing shot of cool air that arrives on Tuesday. Virtually guarantees no 90-degree high temperatures this week in places like D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City, which, of course, suffered through the worst heat wave of the summer last week into the weekend. It really only lasts about 3 or 4 days, so I can't really complain too much about that. And the next 10 days, 15 days or so, certainly appear as if there'll be numerous cooler than normal air masses moving in from Canada into the northeastern part of the nation. It looks like the month of August can certainly turn out to be quite pleasant indeed for a lot of the U.S., and we'll talk a little bit about that over the next few minutes. Let's start off with a look at the tropical scene right now. We do have two systems, but neither one of which will have any impact on U.S. mainland. At least that's the way it appears right now. We have this system right here that probably will not reach tropical storm status. There is an outside chance for that. On the other hand, this system very likely to reach tropical storm status. If so, I believe the next storm would be Emily. There's another wave out here we'll have to monitor over the next few days or so. But again, these two systems look like they're headed for the North Atlantic and no impact on U.S. mainland. August begins tomorrow, and typically the Atlantic Basin tropical season really starts to ramp up during the month of August, and climatologically speaking reaches a peak sometime in mid-September. Well, here's a look at the latest sea surface temperature anomalies around the world. This is using a map from the Canadian Met Center, and we've talked at length about El Nino, and here are the sea surface temperatures relative to normal here, right in the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean, this being South America here. And the warmest relative to normal right now is right off the west coast. You can see right in this region right here. Again, relative to normal, this is where the highest temperatures are. And it's kind of migrating to the west right along the equator. This particular line here represents latitude of 0 degrees or the equator. And this is the area of interest to monitor over the next couple of months with respect to the upcoming winter outlook. Not only does it look like there'll be an El Nino during the upcoming winter season, but it looks like it may shift in its most intense area from the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean into the central part of the Pacific Ocean, again, relative to normal. That is critical. El Nino by itself is important with respect to a winter outlook in, let's say, the eastern half of the nation, but more specifically speaking, it's where it sets up in the tropical Pacific Ocean. If indeed there is a very strong El Nino centered right here in the eastern part of the tropical Pacific, just off or near the west coast of South America, that could overwhelm the eastern U.S. with warmer than normal air. However, if it sets up relative to normal in the central part of the Pacific Ocean, in other words, the temperatures in this part of the Pacific Ocean are warmer relative to normal than farther to the east or farther to the west, that could be a different story. That could be more of a colder, stormier type of winter for the eastern U.S. So not only will I be monitoring the likelihood or the possibility of El Nino during the upcoming winter, but specifically looking at where it sets up. Again, we're talking about in terms of relative to normal with respect to the overall temperature pattern. Meanwhile, still have a lot of warmer than normal conditions in the Atlantic Ocean here, from the Gulf of Mexico to the Caribbean Sea to the southwestern part of the Atlantic Ocean, and right off the west coast of Africa. Again, we have two systems right now. One is moving into the North Atlantic from off the eastern U.S. coast. Another is way out over the central Atlantic. Looks like it very well could reach tropical storm, maybe even hurricane status. But confined to the ocean waters right now, headed also to the North Atlantic. Well, let's kind of take a big picture look here at temperatures going forward over the next 10 days or so. This is using Canadian model run from last night at zeros in. We have a expansive area of cooler than normal conditions this morning as we begin the new work week, the last day of the month of July. Mid-Atlantic region, Great Lakes, Northeast U.S., and especially over southeastern Canada, the Hudson Bay region of Canada, below normal temperatures as we begin the week. And we'll show here that looks like there'll be numerous cooler than normal air masses moving into the U.S. from Canada over the first half of the month of August. Really starting to look like August could turn out to be quite a pleasant month indeed for, let's say, the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S., with normal to below normal temperatures on average for the month of August. Now, let's move forward here, and the heat from last weekend in the Northeast has now retreated back to its original position over the south central part of the U.S. This is the forecast map for tomorrow. Notice kind of a cooler than normal air mass to reinforce the current air mass. So this it will extend our comfortable weather pattern in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Northeast U.S., well through the remainder of the week, again with kind of a reinforcing shot of cool air arriving on Tuesday. Here we are now into the middle of the week, cooler than normal conditions hanging on. And by the way, in terms of rainfall, maybe isolated showers today south of the Mason-Dixon line, the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. Probably no more organized type of rain threat until maybe later Thursday and perhaps again on Friday for this part of the nation. Meanwhile, hotter than normal over the south central states, let's say from Texas all the way up to Missouri. Kind of a mixed bag out across the western U.S. at midweek. Now, let's move forward rather quickly here, and we'll see kind of a mixed bag here as we end this current work week, and then we go into the weekend and the early part of next week. And here we go, a week from right now, next Monday, large area of cooler than normal conditions extending from the interior west across the Central Plains into the Great Lakes, and ultimately that reaches the Mid-Atlantic region as well. This is a week from tomorrow, next Tuesday, August 8th. So again, it appears like there'll be numerous cooler than normal air masses working their way from Canada into the central and eastern U.S., and in this particular case, also out into the interior west over the next 5 or 10 days or so. Well, now let's take a look at the height anomalies at 500 millibars. 500 millibars represents the middle part of the atmosphere. We're looking at a North America view. This is a larger scale view than what we just looked at here. Starting off the week, last day of the month of July, with a strong upper level trough centered over southeastern Canada that's keeping those cooler than normal temperatures across the Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. That high pressure system that had been over the southwestern states and then kind of expanded to the north and east just for a few days over the upcoming weekend has retreated back to the south central part of the nation. Now, let's move forward here, and we'll see into the middle part of the week. This is Wednesday. Still have the trough hanging on over the southeastern part of Canada. High pressure centered this time over Texas here, the south central states at midweek. We'll continue to move on, and we'll see other troughs working their way into the U.S. Here we are over the upcoming weekend now. This is the Saturday morning height anomaly forecast map. Again, the high pressure kind of centered over the southwestern states. Certainly it'll be quite hot indeed from Texas to Arizona, for example, but numerous waves in the upper part of the atmosphere will keep it normal, maybe below normal across much of the central and eastern U.S. In fact, here we go through Sunday and all the way into Monday. This is a week from right now, next Monday, August 7th. A lot of troughiness over the central, northeastern part of the nation, certainly keeping temperatures at bay here, normal, maybe below normal, much of the next 10 days or so, central and eastern U.S. And that high pressure ridge really centered way down there over the southwestern states. Again, continuing hot weather, no doubt about it, from Texas to Arizona, maybe Southern California, but across much of the rest of the nation, not looking too bad over the next 5 or 10 days or so. So that's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.